Das läuft. Sehr schön. Good. Hello, Christiane. I'm so happy to have you here today with me. And we're at your place in the beautiful city of Würzburg. So I came to you to do a little interview on your latest book and about you as a horse photographer and about, well, you are pretty much Germany's most famous horse photographer. Actually, you see all the calendars and the books. There's always photos of your photos in there. So so nice. So good morning, first of all.
Hello Ute, welcome in beautiful Germany, your home too.
Yes.
We have met a lot of time in India,
Right.
but now you are my guest and I'm very happy about it. Thank you for having me in your show.
Great. So why don't you tell us a little bit where you're from, who you are, and basically how did your love for horses evolve?
Well, if you ask my mother, she would tell you that I was already born as a horse. And before I could walk, I was galloping around and it never ended. She hoped that once I become a teenager, maybe my love for horses ended. I disappeared quite often from my parents because I saw a horse, a pony somewhere. And my career in the saddle started when I was 10. And I went to a conventional riding school. I did all my little competitions and, you know, everything you do as a kid, pony camp in the summer and everything. And then, well, when you start to study and go to university and then you develop different interests, I studied arts, geography and German. And to finance my studies I did oil paintings with horses, and since I needed nice pictures of the horses, and most people did not have them, I took also the photos of them, and I learned photography from the very basics with a very famous German photographer, and I also studied photography on university, so I had quite a lot of experience doing all that analog stuff with the chemistry in the dark room and all that stuff. Yes, with the red light on.
It does not exist anymore, but
obviously no, but I learned everything, and it still helps me a lot because I had to do the photos in an analog way, and I know how to do this photography. So today, if it's digital or not, I still know what to do and how to do photography and not computer work.
Exactly.
And so that helps quite a lot. So I did the photos of the horses then already, and people liked it a lot. And said, well, these pictures are good enough, you should send them to magazines. And oh my goodness, that's something else. Anyway, I ended up working on TV as a talk show host. I did about 5,000 talk shows on German TV with many VIP guest celebrities and so on, politicians. And I thought that will be my purpose, to be a journalist on TV. Or also I worked on the radio a little bit, but basically be on a TV station. And at the end, what happened was that one show did not work. My guests couldn't come because they were ill, and I said we have to do something, and why not go to a stable and make a little film there, bring the kids the saddles, the straw in the studio, and let's just make these 30 minutes about riding as a hobby and everything. And I went to this stable and I smelled the hay, I heard the horses chewing, snoring, and I said, what are you doing? I mean, who cares for TV? Now you can do horses. I mean, this is your chance. You can decide now. I quit everything. Who cares for money, for fame, for everything if you can have horses?
Right, exactly.
I did not care about all the other things anymore, and I switched into horses. That was possible because I went to school as a teacher and had horses in my free time as a hobby, and I also started again doing photography and writing for magazines because that was part of the journalism. I started writing books. I published the first book about in Germany called Tinker, in Great Britain called Colored Cops, in America called Gypsy Vanners. I wrote the first book about this horse breed, available in the world. I started to do research, that is my journalistic side, and I did actually the first book about the joining up in Germany and about horse massage in Germany, and nobody was interested in that at all. What is so normal and popular today, I already did 20 years ago. For me, it was always important as a journalist and as a photographer to find something, to be curious and to, be the first and discover something and do it, not following but being there first and discovering, leading.
Exactly.
That was my intention, and that comes from my basic training of journalism.
Right. So did you just then decide that you want to make your living with horse photography, or did that slowly evolve?
Well, it was not that easy. In horse photography, when you did it the analog way, I still have about 500,000 transparencies slides on stock. That was very expensive. You had to be very careful with what you do. I mean, serial photos, that was impossible to do. Nobody could afford it. And I collected. I built up my portfolio, I collected the photos, I did first the images to my articles for magazines and for my books, and then after I had many varieties, the magazine started to ask if I could illustrate other articles, other books, and this is how it exploded in a certain way. And then after a while, my husband and I thought, well, maybe we can do it. But at this time, we had a few sport photographers, and we had 2 or 3 names in horse photography. I worked a lot also for the Wendy magazine, which is international all over, and they didn't have too much choices because not many photographers had so many varieties and options. Right. And so I was already almost a professional photographer when I started really to count only on this income.
Right.
And everybody knew already my name from all my books. That made it a little bit easier to start with it.
Yes, I can imagine. Yeah, I mean, today there's so many horse photographers, right? They just mushroom out of the earth, and there's just so many, and many do it like semi-professional, I guess.
Yes.
Just selling the pictures off for like almost nothing, because they just want to have. I guess you need a standing, you need a name, otherwise you cannot really live with it.
Well, there are not many who can make their living on it. They have incredible websites, offers. They are very, very good in their social media accounts. But at the end, they just have a very, very small business. They don't even pay taxes or so. I mean, it all looks much more than it is.
Yes.
But I make my living now with only horse photography for about 20 years, with 40 years of experience, and that is really something else. Because it's not only the market, it's also a lot of experience with customers, with the horses all over. And I think it makes a difference, but I wish, hey, go for it. It is fun. It is a great thing to do. But I know photographers who are so unbelievably talented, and they just quit now because they cannot make their living. Yes. A friend of mine, she did photos at the Olympic Games for Germany, and there's only one license always for the riding competitions. She did it 3 times in a row. She was very, very famous with her really good sport photos. And she quit. She went back as a nurse. A nurse earns not a lot of money, but she says she has more money with being a nurse than as a photographer.
That's hard. Yeah, it is a hard job. Yeah, that's definitely, it's hard. And particularly in today's time, with so many people doing Photoshop all the time, it's, I think, even more difficult for people like you.
Well, it is a different thing to do. I mean, if you use a computer, is it art? I don't know. If you make a black and white copy of your colored photo, is this a real black and white photography? For me, black and white photography has different concepts and approaches. So this has nothing to do with art or photography. This is computer art. It is fun. It is nice being creative, playing around. But if you want to call yourself a photographer, I think you should know at least the basics of this, and you can create your own style. That's all wonderful. I also use Photoshop to take away a fence or a fly, but my basic image should be an image that can be worked with.
Yeah, that brings us straight to the next question. What makes a good photo for you? Difficult one.
If my father, who has nothing to do with horses, says, "Oh, that is a nice photo," then certainly that's a good one.
Definitely.
That is very interesting, that of course there are certain rules for good photography. These rules are very international, the rule of third and all that stuff. I mean, there are many, many rules, but at the end, the market decides what's a good photo. Can you sell it? You can produce as much art as you want, but if you want to make your living with photography and it doesn't sell, this art doesn't help you at all. And this is something I learned from my dear husband Thomas, who is not a photographer, not an artist. He has nothing to do with horses, but he's a good financial minister. And he says, hey, the sparrow in the hand is better than the dove on the roof.
Definitely.
And that is the thing. So if you don't make money with your beautiful art, photograph please things who sell, like a horseshoe or something like that, or a saddle. So we have everything in our stock now, and we are very large. We have now 170,000 images online on my website, and the magazines really have a lot to choose from. Good selection, yes.
Yeah, perfect. You teach horse photography and short weekend courses and weekly courses to actually pretty much all kind of people. Like people come to your courses, they're total beginners with, just their first camera, even sometimes with mobile cameras. You have people which are like semi-professional, and all these people come together in your courses to learn just basically the secrets of your great photography, and they're all happy because they come back year after year. So what's your secret as a photographer and maybe as a teacher as well?
Well, if they come back year after year, you could guess they don't learn anything. Like my husband, who has joined, I think, 10 courses, 12 workshops a year for so many years. He hasn't learned everything, but anything. But he says, okay, one photographer in the family is enough. I cannot do it better, so you do this. And the thing is really, it is important to practice. Photography is something that needs an eye. It needs knowledge about your subject, about the horses. It needs some technical knowledge, but it also needs a little luck if nothing happened. I mean, obviously. Some things with horses you don't want to have happened, but it's also your responsibility that nothing goes wrong in this. You're responsible for the animals, for the people around you. And because I take a lot of care of this, I think this is also a secret of success, that in all my practice, nothing ever happened really seriously to people and to horses. And I want to teach people that without knowing basic things, they cannot approve. It is important to know your borders, your limits of technique, and don't expect too much. And you need to know if you make a mistake or your equipment maybe cannot do it, or it's technically impossible at all. And if you know a little bit about these things, you have more fun with it and less disappointment. And I think this is very important, that I give them enough information to understand things, how it works in photography, how to work with the horses in a very careful way, no matter how precious this horse or how cheap this horse is. Every horse is the same, and how to set it up, the whole thing, to make a stage for the horse and to communicate with the animal that we play a game now. The horse will pay you attention, show off, and you give him back joy, pleasure, happiness. The horses are very sensitive for that. They have fun presenting themselves, and this is what people feel in my workshops. And I think that's also why they keep coming back. Then they learn something, they go back practicing back home, and the next time they are one step higher and can achieve other goals.
Right. Huh. That is definitely great. So you've met so many different horses in your life because you've photographed many famous horses as well. Do you have one which kind of impressed you most, or one which you always think about again and again?
Well, of course, there are certain breeds who are very spirited, who love to present themselves. If they have long manes, even better. If they are gray, also much easier than the black ones. But at the end, if they are really, very, very spirited, usually it's only because they have been locked up for such a long time and they never get a chance to go out.
Indeed.
That is also something you have to think about, especially like in Spain, Spanish horses or, all precious horses, they're not supposed to run free. And so for them, these are both sides of the medal.
Yes.
At the end, each horse has to give something to you. And for me, every horse I have in front of my camera, that is my horse, my favorite model at this moment, no matter if it's worth 2 million or 200 euros, like a pony from the slaughterhouse and now fed up and whatever, he looks better. And because if you communicate with them, they will always have a picture for you. It is your job to do a perfect shot. And I say any horse is beautiful enough to be a cover shot. I have about 100 magazine covers a year. And for me, the biggest fun is to use an old schooling horse nobody looks at twice and bring it on the cover of the largest German magazine. And believe me, it already happened quite a lot.
I'm sure.
Yes, it's just the photo, and it's your job to do this, and this is the best thing about it.
That's amazing. See, that's why I think your photography is so good, because you manage to bring out the beauty in each horse because you believe in the beauty, right? So if you want to see beauty, you'll see beauty, and you manage to kind of transport this beauty of, as you said, any kind of riding horse, riding like schooling horse. Very often old horses, really, if you see them in the stall, you'll not give them a second look, and you make a picture of them and you say like, wow.
Yes, it often happens that, and I showed these pictures then to the owners, and they say, yeah, that's nice, but where's my horse? I said, this is your horse.
This is your horse.
Because I see them with different eyes,
exactly.
and the beauty lies within them. And even the old horses, they have all the wisdom of the world in their eyes, and it's wonderful. And sometimes I go through a stable of famous breeding stallions. I walk through and look in all the faces, and then I see this and this and this, and then I have one, he says, hey, take me. He just tells me. And then I talk to the stud farm manager, said, I want this one. And he said, but this is not our best one. For me, he will be great. Yes. And then I see the best stallion in the stable, and he's already fed up. Oh, somebody else again, and I have to do. No. This fellow will be best. And this is usually how it is. And they set up a great show for me.
Yes. Perfect. Your photography has really taken you all around the globe. So what do you love about traveling and photographing horses in so many different countries?
Well, because the horses bring you back to the roots of a culture. And there are so many cultures in the world. Well, I told you at the beginning, I also studied geography. So for me, traveling is a basic interest. As a journalist, I'm curious and I want to understand why the tack is formed like this within the centuries. Why is the breed like this? Because each culture, each need of a horse for transport, for working, develops certain breeds in certain climates, in certain cultures, and I'm very curious, why did it develop this way and not that way and not the other way around? And also our Western culture tends to know everything and everything better. And then I realize when I have my travels with groups, with photography and riding groups, we call that phototainment, because we want to have Dolce Vita and culture, not
good
only
food.
Horses and riding, good food, everything. And then they look at these horses. Oh, these horses are a little bit too thin. Can you ride them? And I said, you know what? this horse looks happier than these fat horses locked up in our cages called boxes, in our stables, and because they have a job to do and they don't carry around too much fat, and if they live in a desert, maybe that's helpful. Look at these marathon runners, from Kenya. Look at these slender guys, but how they move and run. And this is exactly what happens to the horses. We can learn so much around the world, and also that could help our horses here in Germany a lot. So be open-minded. Others know something about horses too, other cultures.
Indeed. That's right. So you've written many books about your life as a horse photographer, and your new book was published only last year and it's been a huge success. We will discuss some of the chapters in the coming weeks, and I'm really excited about that because it's basically about all your journeys to so many different countries and such amazing locations. There's Iceland, there's the Seychelles, there's the Shetlands, which is one of my biggest favorite because the ponies are just so cute. It's amazing. But today, just tell us a little bit, why are you, or what made you write these books, and what message do you want to kind of convey to your readers?
Well, I wrote a lot of books about different horse breeds, different types, about training horses. I've been riding up to Grand Prix horses myself. I did a lot of things around the horse world all my life, but I found out the best thing actually were the stories behind the scenes. You can give information, transport informations in articles, but also what happens there behind the scenes is sometimes the most funny thing, the most interesting thing. So I try to make a mixture between travel journalism, about culture information, about the traditions there in these different regions, about the horses, why are they like this, and why is it no problem at the Shetland Islands that even men are riding Shetland ponies? Here, ooh, but hey, this is what they were bred for. They are so sturdy, they can actually do it. So what was their job to do? Like, as you mentioned, the Shetlands, it was also one of my favorite places ever to go, but because I was very lucky with the weather, without the sun probably would have been different, and so it is for me a nice combination to talk about the photography, what did I do, what went wrong, because many best things stories. These stories, whatever goes wrong is the best story, even if you then don't have your great picture you had in mind, whatever, but the mixture is what makes it interesting, and I think people really appreciate it because it's fun for many people to read. Everybody has their favorite chapters, and also if you don't want to read the chapters, hey, look at the images and look at the underwriting, and there are enough informations there.
Right. Yeah, that's amazing. So you've spent so many years on the road, going to different places for your photography. Now I think you said you wanted to, slow it down a little bit, just staying home a bit more. I don't think you quite succeeded as yet, but what's still on your future agenda? Where do you still want to go, and what are your plans coming ahead?
Well, there are a few plans. There are some absolutely crazy ideas because believe it or not, there are a few things nobody has ever photographed with horses before, and I don't want to combine this in Photoshop. Actually, I couldn't do it because these ideas are in a way. I would like to go see the culture of Indonesia. And because since I was a child, I heard about the dancing Zumba ponies. A report there would be very interesting. But the dances and the culture, the traditions, some of them are really rough. I heard about wild horses on the Easter Islands. Hey, wow. Let's go there. And I have a very special project for Mexico. Also, Chile is something interesting because South America was always something I stayed away a little bit because, well, the treatment of the horses is not what I really like, but with some wilder animals and the landscape in combination, maybe in a private place, it will be okay.
So I think you still have a lot of things on your agenda.
Oh yes, going back to New Zealand is top on the list, that's for sure. But well, at the moment we stay home a little bit more and plan a little bit, and hopefully also go back to India. See you there.
Definitely, I'd love to. Unfortunately, I mean, this year Corona has put a little bit a lid on any kind of traveling for everyone. But let's hope that things will kind of clear up a little bit next year. And then I'm looking forward to seeing another, great pictures from you and hear a lot of new stories. And I really keep my fingers crossed that your projects, I have heard about a few, but we're not going to mention them here. They're still top secret. So I just hope that they will become a reality.
We just hope, and well, they're still in my mind, and time will tell us.
Exactly. Now, after every interview, because we're already pretty much at the end, I'm usually asking my guest a few rapid fire questions. So I haven't told you about that because I like it to be a bit of a surprise, because I want you to answer the first thing which comes to your mind. So They shouldn't be really prepared or anything, just answer the first thing which comes to your mind. So what is your must-pack item on any of your trips?
The camera.
Obviously, you're not a photographer. That was a stupid question.
Well, the laptop is second because the camera is not worth. Without a laptop, I must tell you one story from India. That was the best. Because we were in the desert, traveling with the tents, and the energy of my laptop was going down. I had enough energy for my camera, but not for the laptop. Okay. I couldn't play the pictures in. And the Indians always say, trust in the gods, trust in the gods. I said, hey, okay. Next evening, I said, I need electricity, trust in the gods. My laptop was going, I had only 11%. Next evening, I cannot play my pictures in, and that is a big problem, so I want to save them, and I need electricity, trust in the gods. I said, hey, you know what, you know what I thought. Okay, I cannot tell you here. Okay, and then 10 minutes later, they came with a jeep. They said, take your laptop. I took the laptop, and they put me in a jeep. They drove 20 minutes through nothing, through the deserts of Rajasthan, the Thar desert, and we ended up in a small house in the desert, and it was a temple. It was a temple, and they brought me into this temple. Take your laptop, go in the temple. I said, what will this supposed to be? And believe it or not, in this temple, they had a little lamp glowing for the gods, for praying, but it was up there in the evening from 8 to midnight. There was electricity. And I sat down in front of a very colorful statue, probably the god of electricity, I don't know. And I plugged the laptop in and was sitting there and watching my laptop going up again, the energy going up, sitting in front of this statue, and thought, trust in the gods, yes. See, that is
something you learn while traveling. Have patience.
This is one of these stories. Trust in the gods. Yes.
Now, when you travel, are you more a long-term planner, or are you like a very spontaneous swing-it style traveler?
Well, it depends on. I have customers. Like I did a 1,800 kilometer tour through Germany last week because one of my one of the best stable builder companies in the world, asked me to do so. So this must be very, very spontaneous. Must be planned. Corona gives me the time for it, so it's okay. But by the way, these really big journeys you need to plan, especially if you go with groups. If I go by myself, I also do a lot of planning, but this is what my dear husband is great for. And then we really have to have partners on the other side. And I received a call last week. I was asked for horses on Fiji Islands. But hey, at the moment, see, even this, no. Yeah. So, I mean, it can be spontaneously, but at the moment, it is a little bit difficult. Restricted.
Right.
Yes,
that's right.
We are very flexible.
Yeah, that's always good. What's your favorite horse breed?
Everything, all of them.
Okay.
No, I'm sorry. Yeah. I cannot say because I love the Shetland ponies. The Mavaris are so special that every other horse is just normal. I love the big Shires. I love Andalusians. I love Arabians. I love sportive warm bloods. I mean, I have about 300 horse breeds in my stock, and all of them have something.
Can totally relate to that.
Yeah.
So what's your favorite riding style?
The one who is best for the horse.
Good answer. If you can spend 1 year off paid for, where would you go?
Everywhere.
Travel around the world.
Travel around the world, but probably New Zealand again. For me, from all my countries in the world, New Zealand was the one I felt most comfortable with everything, despite the fact it was very expensive. But I thought the people and nature there was the best.
It is an incredible nature, that's right. Now, besides riding and, of course, photography, what other hobbies do you have?
If you make your hobby to your profession, you don't have a hobby anymore. That's my problem. I did ballroom dancing quite a long time in a very high level. I miss that very much, but my knees are now, not broken, but since I knee down so much for photography, they cannot do the dancing anymore.
Okay, I see. Now, what's your biggest addiction? Except horses.
Well, what I miss most while traveling is actually the German fresh bread with a big crust. So maybe you can call that an addiction. Because this is something I really miss. I'm happy with everything and I don't need anything to drink but water. Right. But the very good German bread would be great to have on some more places in the world.
Indeed, I do miss that too.
See,
in India.
So and if you miss something, maybe there is some kind of addiction.
I guess it's just it's our cultural upbringing. I guess we Germans just love our bread. I think it's been promoted as a World Heritage now.
Oh, okay.
Because we have such a variety of bread styles in Germany. I mean, they're all colors. They're from white till black.
Yes.
There's like some with seeds and so many different kinds of.
Also, I heard about 600 different kinds and whatever.
Plenty.
But this is something, sometimes I miss while traveling. And so.
I make my own in India because I said I miss it so much. I could eat just bread here all day long. Because
this is why we served you some.
Yes, exactly. Now, are you an early bird or a night owl?
Night owl. I very bad for photography, but
exactly, because you have to get up early. The early morning is light as a best.
Oh.
See, I learned that even little bit I learned from you making the pictures. So a little bit I kind of picked up over the years.
Okay, that is good. Yeah, you didn't even visit a workshop. Maybe that's better.
Well, I listened to you and I saw you working a lot, and she always said like early morning.
Oh yes, I don't know. Why did I say that? Actually,
well, because the light is best.
Yeah, but. Yeah, that is probably because in India it's getting so hot during the day that you can have a nap. Yes, right. That makes it easier.
Yes. What book are you currently reading?
Actually, I cannot tell you because it is on my ebook reader, and if I turn it on, I turn it on, and it's just there, and I don't even know the title. So this is something really nothing. Yeah, I like thrillers. Okay, I read a thriller here and there on my way, but at the end, I spend most of the time at the computer back home, and especially the naming of the images and to tag them. This is the most work, and I have always the mediathek from our German TV broadcasts there and watch a lot of documentaries, and I listen to them and I watch them every day about 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, depending on, and this gives me a lot of information, makes me happy. And usually when I'm traveling, I'm watching to waves of the ocean. I have earplugs with my phone. I don't hear. I just kind of relax and listen to the ocean waves. Yes. And that is the best I can do.
That's such a multitasking. Yeah. So which was the last horse movie you watched?
The last horse movie I watched was good question. Because I think they are made so terribly, and because I have a lot to do with the film industry, with my family also, and I don't like the cliches there. Probably I like Hidalgo.
That was a good one.
Yes, and my absolutely favorite one, of course, is the Black Stallion, because I read the books when I was little. Yes. Actually, I delivered an image now to a company who brought the book The Black Stallion out again, and I was able to deliver the cover of this book. I was so proud to have this book again, and I love the way how the movie showed how the stallion was ridden first in the water, and this is also what they did in New Zealand with the wild horses, and I was so surprised and thought about the movie and liked it very much.
I see.
Yes.
Yeah, that sounds great.